Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is for the Elizabeth Craft Designs Designers Challenge for this month. The theme is Halloween, so I used some of the brand new dies and one of the new stamp sets from Elizabeth Craft Designs to make this cute Halloween pop-up card. So I have an A2 sized white card base from 100 pound soft finish cardstock and an A2 sized rich black cardstock base. The black is going to be the inside, the white is going to be the outside. And we're using the General Pop-Ups dies, which are brand new. And I'm going to be using this two-step die, and I'm lining up those nubs on the outside edges there with the fold line in the center of the black cardstock. So this is going to create our little pop-up for the pumpkins on the inside of the card. So I'm going to run this through my die cutter, and I've done that now. And now I'm going to remove the die, and that's my dog barking. Sorry about that. And I'm going to push the dies forward. So the score lines are all part of the die. So if you just gently push it forward and fold it closed, and I used a paintbrush to push that, like the smaller one on the bottom, forward, that'll train those folds really nicely and create that stair stepper effect. So you can see it there. It's really easy to do. Folding it closed is probably the toughest part. Now here's one of the new stamp sets. It's called Spooky Sentiments, and it coordinates with the labels dies, which are also brand new. And there's a bunch of different shapes in this die set, but I used two that were the same size. So hope you don't mind that. But I used Hello Pumpkin and then Happy Halloween. I stamped these with like a detail ink. It's VersaFine. And then my pumpkin didn't stamp so well. And rather than having to redo it, I just took a Copic liner and filled it in. Now I did take the time to color the little pumpkin and leaf detail on the Hello Pumpkins stamp with my Wink of Stella orange and green markers to give it a little bit of glimmer. And then here's the matching label die. So I'm going to die cut both of those out. So there you can see how they have been die cut out using that label die. Creates a really cute edge around it. And now I'm going to put some glitter on this. So I'm taking my Quickie glue pen and I am just going all the way around the die and sprinkling bright grape silk microfine glitter onto the edges. And I'm going to set those aside. I'm not really cleaning them up at this point. I'm going to set them aside and let them dry. And later I'll be burnishing them. Now for our pumpkins, this is the pumpkin die set. Now that little face has my faces stuck in it because they're so tiny, I don't want to remove them. But you're going to need 2 sets of leaves, 2 sets of vines, 2 small pumpkins, 1 large pumpkin, or tall pumpkin, I should say. So you see those there. And then you're going to need the stems to match those. And I cut the pumpkins out of bright orange soft finish cardstock and the vines out of true green cardstock. Now I'm taking my IG2 Spectrum Noir marker, which is a light gray, and I'm just going over the embossed lines that are added when you die cut this. And then I'm adding shading like on one edge and along the bottom. That's all the shading I'm going to do to this. And it's super simple and really easy to do. You just follow the embossed lines and then pick an edge and go down that one edge and then along the bottom. And it creates some nice, very subtle, but fairly realistic shading. And now I'm just adhering the matching stems onto the stem piece on the orange piece. And those are, well, one of them's done, but now we're going to need to add the little Halloween faces to 2 of them. So as you can see, these pieces are really tiny. And I've cut these out of rich black, but they're super cute. So you have kind of like that classic Halloween pumpkin face on the right-hand side there. And then this left-hand sided guy, you can kind of mess around with the position of the eyes to sort of change his expression and make him look, angrier or mean or like more friendly. Like he looks kind of mean there. And then I do wind up moving them around and making him look a little more friendly because I decided I'd go with the kinder, gentler Halloween pumpkins on this. But I think that's kind of cute that you have the versatility. And you could certainly like put the different, you can put the different element, you can mix them up, put the different mouth on the other guy or however you want to do it. Super cute. So now you're going to layer some pieces together for the front and the back. So you're going to have to cut out the 3rd and 4th largest die from the dotted scallop rectangle die set. out of the Moda Scrap Thinking About Rio de Janeiro paper pack using the purple dotted paper. And then the white rectangles are 3 7/8 by 2 5/8. That's the lower one. And then the upper one is 3 3/8 by 2 1/8. And then that black piece is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So the white was 85-pound soft finish cardstock, and then the black is the rich black again. Now here I am burnishing down my edges on my glitter, and then I'm just cleaning up the excess with a Swiffer cloth. Works like magic. And this is the front of the card. So we've got the A2 size card base, and we're going to adhere all of these pieces down to the front. I'm using 10mm double-sided adhesive tape to layer these together. And I'm sped this up a lot because this is probably the least interesting part of this. But as you can see, I've put the black piece down. Now I'm putting the purple piece down. And then the last one will be the white piece in the center. And now we're going to add the greeting and the pumpkin along with 2 leaves and 2 vines to the front of the card. But first, we want to add a little bit of shading to the front. So I've got my same IG2 Spectrum Noir marker, and I'm positioning sort of where I'm going to have my pumpkin. And then I'm going to draw a gray line right kind of along and underneath the pumpkin so that it looks like it's actually sitting on something rather than floating on the front of the card. This isn't entirely necessary, but if you've watched any of my videos, I usually do this because I just think it adds a tiny bit of realism. And then I'm just sketching in some extra area for where the pumpkin would be sitting, a little extra shading. And this should be very sketchy and very loose. Like, don't be too concerned about it. I just freehanded it. If you're worried, you could draw a light line with a pencil first. But I say just go for it. And now I'm using some 6mm adhesive on the back of the big pumpkin and the saying. And I'm going to adhere down the saying on that sort of angle in the upper left corner. The pumpkin does overlap it slightly. Now, we have 1 each of the vines and 1 each of the leaves in the die set that I've cut from the True Green cardstock, and I'm going to sort of adhere them down as you're going to see here. I'm going to tuck the smaller leaf behind on the upper right of the pumpkin, and now I'm just using my glue pen to go along and adhere these down. I've got that vine sort of sticking out fairly far, and then the larger leaf is going to overlap that, as you see there. And then I'm going to do the vine that ends in the curly Q is going into the upper left side of the pumpkin, sort of sticking up. And this is kind of to balance out the green across that corner, to kind of put the vines in the different positions. And then the pumpkin will go on top of that, and I do add a little quickie glue to the stem to get it all adhered down nicely. And that is the front completed. Pretty easy. And now here's the inside. So we've got our 2 Halloween pumpkins. We've got our Happy Halloween saying. So again, I'm going to burnish down the glitter and clean it up with the Swiffer cloth. And then I have 1 of the smaller leaves and 1 each of the vines. And then the layered purple and white pieces. So the curly Q vine is going to go stuck behind the tall pumpkin, as you see. And then this is where my camera went kind of nuts, but I did cut that leaf in half, as you see there, and then glued it to the vine like so. And I just cut it in half following the embossed line on that little leaf. It's easy to do. Now to adhere these down, the positioning is a little tricky. So the tall pumpkin needs to go in the upper right corner of the upper step. And he's going to go on kind of an angle. And there's not a whole lot of that pumpkin touching the step. So I did use 3mm adhesive, and I overlapped it a little bit to just get that corner nicely covered with adhesive. The reason why is because I tilted him to the right, and he has to be kind of high up because that lower pumpkin covers a lot of him up, and you still want to be able to see him when you put them together. Now the lower piece, I cut a piece of lower step. I cut a piece of the 6mm adhesive, and I pressed it down really well, and then pulled that off. And I'm going to position the lower pumpkin sort of tilted off to the left. Now you have to make sure you don't go lower than the fold on the pop-up step piece. Hopefully that makes sense. And then the leaf, the half leaf and the vine get adhered behind the pumpkin on the left-hand side. Now again, make sure to clear the fold area because you don't want to interfere with the mechanism folding. And then the leaf on the right, oh, so we do use both leaves. Sorry, I think I said we only used one leaf, but we do use both. And just make sure after you get them adhered down, but before it's dry, that the whole folding mechanism works and those aren't positioned too far down. Now again, I'm using 6mm adhesive on my little label sentiment, and it's going to go in the upper left-hand corner on an angle. And then I'm going to layer down again the purple rectangle, scalloped rectangle, and the white rectangle in the base. So you could write a greeting on the card, because black's a little tough to write on unless you have those, good markers that show up on dark cardstock. But I like the idea of continuing the theme from the front of the scalloped rectangles, purple and white, into the inside. And that is the front and inside completed. Now to adhere them together, you need to get a fair amount of adhesive all the way around the outside of the black piece, and especially go around the areas that are the openings where the die cut has been cut to make sure that those adhere nicely to the inside of the white card base. So I've used a lot of 10mm adhesive here. And then you're going to line it up just slightly off the fold and then fold the front down. Of course, before you do this, make sure you have your inside positioned correctly so you don't do it accidentally upside down. I thought I might do that, but I didn't, but I was worried about it for a second. And then you just repeat the procedure and do the exact same thing on the back. So fold the back die down. No matter what you do, they are not going to line up perfectly. It's something about because they are the same size to start with, when you fold them together, they don't quite, there's no way to get it perfectly lined up. So you're going to have to trim off some of the black from the white and some of the white from the inside. Undoubtedly. Like, I don't see any way around it. So just be prepared for that. But once you get it all trimmed off, then your card is done. And honestly, even though there are a lot of steps involved, I think the result is really, really cute and pretty easy overall. So I hope you give it a shot. The new dies and stamps for Halloween from Elizabeth Craft Designs are so cute. So please check them out. Supplies are linked in the video description and over on my blog. There's also a link to the blog post that will show you all of the other designers' fun projects for Halloween this month. And if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe. You can also follow me if you're interested on Instagram at blacksheep303. Thank you so much and have a great day.